Oh. Sahana bhavatu, sahanau bhunaktu, saha viryam karavavahai, tejasvinavadhitamastu, ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Sairam everyone. Today we will be taking up the 9th Bhaja Govindam verse which Swami had chosen to discourse on during the 1973 summer showers. That happens to be the 20th verse of Bhaja Govindam. So we'll take a look at it. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita Ganga Jala Lava Kanika Pita Sakridapi Yena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita Ganga Jala Lava Kanika Pita Sakridapi Yena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. Bhagavad Gita Kinchidadhita Ganga Jalalava Kanika Pita Sakridapi Yena Murari Samarcha Kriyate Tasya Yamena Na Charcha. Let's take a look at some of the letters you'll have to pay attention to when you learn to chant it. Bhagavad Gita. In this, the first letter Bha is aspirated because it's the fourth letter in the Pa Varga. So, Sairam Auntie Saku, I think there's some, you have to undo some of the. Let's see. I'm going to stop sharing and come back 1 second. Okay. So the first letter Bha is aspirated, so it's a fourth letter in the Pa Varga. Kinchida Dhi. This letter is also fourth letter in the third class of letters, Tha Varga. So it has to be aspirated. So Dhita. Okay. So Bha, Bhagavad Gita, Kinchida Dhita. In the second letter, there are no aspirated consonants. So Ganga, Jalalava, Kanika, Pita. The third one also, there are no aspirated consonants. Sakridapi, Yena, Murari, Samarcha. The last line also, there are no aspirated consonants. Sairam Antisaku. You have to unmute and speak. You know. So now let's look at the Sandhi split. Split of the Sandhis. The word Bhagavad Gita, I have split it here because there are two words, Bhagavat and Gita. The it becomes id because of Sandhi, so that's how you get Bhagavad Gita. But when you split, there are two words, Bhagavat and Gita. The same way, the next word, Kinchidadhita, Kinchidadhita is made of two words, Kinchit and Adhita. Here also the it becomes id. That's the first letter in each class becomes a third because of certain sandhis. So it becomes id. So that's how you get Kinchid Adhita, which becomes Kinchidadhita. In the second line, there are internal sandhi, but there's no change. But I've just split out all the words Ganga, Jala, Lava, and Kanika. There are four individual words actually which combine to make that long word. If you look at the next line, Sakridapi is actually made of two words, Sakrit and Api. Here also the it becomes id. So that's how you get Sakridapi. Okay. It becomes id plus a becomes da, and so you get dapi, Sakridapi. So you can see in this verse there are same sandhi repeating in multiple places. There are in the Murari Samarcha, it's a compound word, but there's no change due to sandhi. Murari Samarcha. But I just split out the words so that you can see, separated the words. The next line also, there are no sandhis, so any changes due to sandhi. Now let's look at the meaning of the verse. So Bhagavat is the only way to translate is God. God's Gita is a song. The song of God is Bhagavad Gita, which, as all of us know, is the song which Lord Krishna sang in the battlefield to teach Arjuna. Okay, so Bhagavad Gita. Kinchit is the next word. Kinchit word, even a little bit. Even a little bit is the meaning. Kinchit. Adhita. Adhita means the process of study. The process of studying and also practicing or internalizing or attaining the principles of anything. So all that is contained in the word adhita. The word adhyayana, all of them come from the word, a similar root. Okay. All of them are coming from the word adhi, which is something to do with our discriminative faculty, you can say. Or dhi shakti means that's also the ability to absorb anything, study, understand. All that is governed by Dhi. Like if you look at the Gayatri, Dhiyo Yona Prachodayat, you're asking the Lord to make our Dhi Shakti, be effulgent. Okay. So Adhita is not only study, it's also to practice and also to attain what it is. That's become internalizing it. Okay, Adhita. So what it means is even a little bit the study or practicing of something, a little bit of Bhagavad Gita. The next line is Ganga Jala Lava Kanika. Ganga means the river Ganges. Okay. Lava. Jala is water. Ganga Jala means water. Ganges water. Okay. Lava Kanika. Lava means a drop, a small bit. Kanika also means something very small. So Lava Kanika means a very little drop of water, Ganga water. Okay. Pita, the process of drinking, consuming it. Okay. Pita. The next line is word is Sakrit Api. Okay. Sakrit means once, at least a moment. Sakrit Api. For a fraction of a second also you can say. Sakrit Api means even once. Okay, even once. The next word is Yena. Yena is by someone. Okay, so it's a third vibhakti or third noun form of the word Yaha. Yaha means whoever, who. Yena means by whom. Yena, by who. Murari Samarcha. Murari is the name for Krishna or Vishnu who destroyed the Asura Mura. Okay, Mura is supposed to be a right-hand man of Narakasura. Mura signifies obstinacy in human being, certain kind of demonic nature in human mind. Human beings are also referred to as Mura. Okay, Murari means one who destroys. So that is Vishnu. The next word is Samarcha. Samarcha is made of Sam and Archa. Archa means doing Archana, worshipping. Sam means in a perfect way, completely. Okay, Swami, would you say Sam means Samyak? Swami will say Samyak Drishti, Samyak Vak. So we should have good. So that we also can see even good in a good manner. A good manner worshipping or perfectly worshipping Murari. So even a little bit, for a moment, someone worships the Lord. That's called Sakritapi Murari Samarcha. The word Yena should be applied to everything. Okay. Yena Kriyate, one who does. One who does Bhagavad Gita Kinchitarita. Whoever does a study of a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, whoever drinks a drop of Ganga waters, whoever perfectly worships even for a little moment, a fraction of a second, Murari Samat, Murari. Okay. Then the last line tells what happens to such a person. Kriyate means does. Okay. Tasya. Tasya is the sixth vibhakti or sixth noun form of the word Saha. That means his, of someone. Okay. His. Yamena. Yama is the Lord of Death. Yamena is again third vibhakti or third noun form, which means it can mean by Yama or with Yama. Okay. In English, different prepositions get used. By Yama or with Yama, I have used the word with Yama, which Yama is god of death. Na means no. Charcha. I've used the word trouble here, but trouble, yeah, charcha has multiple meanings. Charcha can be inquiry, investigation, debate. It can also mean repetition of something. Okay. So if you look at it, there will be no repetition with Yama. No repetition, no trouble with Yama, by Yama. So the god of death will not cause any problem to you. So that means you won't be born again and again die. He will not trouble you in putting you. The belief is that Yama will evaluate what you have done in your life and accordingly punish you, give you reward. So all that will not happen. Okay. So tasya na charcha. Such a person, whoever does all this, tasya na charcha. Means for him, for that person, there's no trouble. By Yama or with Yama. Okay, that kind of meaning. You can say, maybe I put by Yama also. So a person who does all these, one of these three or all three, for such a person, there's no trouble by Yama. So this is the meaning of this verse. So which basically means we have to do one of these in our life and then we will be fine. Okay, so let's look at what Swami has explained about this verse. Swami has very nicely explained. So let's look at what Swami said and then maybe discuss afterwards. Sairam. So this is the 12th discourse of Swami during the summer showers of 1973. Okay. Recitation of even a very small portion of the Gita, taking in even a small quantity of the sacred water from the Ganges, performing the puja of Hari even once, can make one so sacred that Yama, the Lord of Death, will have nothing to say to or ask any questions of such a person. Divyatma Swarupas. Shankara, along with his disciples, gave us the Bhaja Govindam verses. One of his principal disciples by name Ananda gave this particular verse. Ananda was a dull-minded individual and hence was called Giri by his associates. Giri means a dull-minded individual. He became Ananda Giri from then onwards. This dull-minded Ananda Giri wanted to be with the Guru and serve him. This was his only aim. Other students were so attentive and clever that they could learn by heart their lessons and recite them to the Guru the same evening. Anandagiri was so dull that he could not recite anything. He made up for this by spending all his time in the service of the Guru. Because he was serving the Guru at all times, he received extraordinary grace on one occasion, and he was able to compose a set of verses called the Totaka verses. Anandagiri himself was called Totaka thereafter. It was implied in these verses that an understanding of the essence of our scriptures would lead one to apprehend the Atma. The other disciples read many books, and each one of them converted their heads into a book. Anandagiri was serving the Guru in such a way that he turned himself into a bee which would go and take the very honey from inside the flower of the heart of Guru. I'll just pause here. The Giri means a mountain, a hill, a piece of rock. So the reason Anandagiri was called because he was like a rock, it was incapable of absorbing anything. That was one. The Totaka is a meter of how a poetic meter. So the verses of Totaka Acharya, who is Anandagiri, became very famous. And that's what Swami is referring to. Okay. We'll continue on with the discourse. Study divorced from practice does not make the mind steady. Totaka thought that it is better to know only that part of knowledge which would lead him to immortality. That is why Anandagiri said in this verse that it is sufficient even if you read the Bhagavad Gita, which contains the essence of Indian culture, even once. Okay, so I will pause here. Swami is not only saying a little bit of Bhagavad Gita, he's saying, even if you read it once, the entire Bhagavad Gita. So that's the way Swami has explained it. So there's another way to interpret the meaning. So even a little bit of time, you have read the entire Bhagavad Gita, rather than reading it every day or anything like that. A person, I'll continue, a person who is hungry need not go and eat all the kinds of foods that are produced in the world. It is sufficient if he eats what is required to satisfy him and relieve his hunger. It is enough if you take one verse out of the Bhagavad Gita and understand the true meaning of it. It is in this context that Anandagiri said that taking a small quantity of the Ganges water is sufficient. When you're thirsty, it is enough if you take a small quantity of water to quench your thirst. You do not have to drink up the entire Ganges. In the same manner, Totaka believed that one single ray of God's grace is quite enough for him to demonstrate to the world the nature of the Atma. It is because of the fact that this disciple enjoyed such confidence of the Guru that Shankara established a Pitha or seat of learning at Badri and put him in charge of that Pitha. There were four principal disciples of Shankara, and they were Padmapada, Sureshwara, Totaka, and Hastamalaka. These four disciples were chosen by Shankara, and he put them in charge of the four Pithas, or the principal seats of learning throughout the country. Sureshwara had also another name, and that was Mandana Mishra. Shankara had several arguments with Mandana Mishra on various religious matters. At the end of these arguments, Shankara came out victorious. Thereafter, Shankara gave sannyasa to Mandana Mishra as he was then a family man. His wife was Ubhaya Bharati. Mandana Mishra was a learned man. He was learned in all the Shastras and Vedas, and in truth, he was a Jnani. He was the embodiment of all knowledge. There is a need for us to understand clearly the nature of the teachings given by Shankara to his disciples. Our country is in a deplorable condition because today we neither have gurus like Shankara nor single-minded disciples like Mandana Mishra. Teaching is of two kinds. One method is to teach by word of mouth. This can be accomplished by imparting information and knowledge, which helps and does not hinder to change the outlook. But it does not necessarily transform the listener. Precept and practice remain distinct. The second method of teaching consists of the Guru himself setting an example by his behavior and actions for disciples to follow. This method is more effective. Shankara used to thoroughly examine the intent and meaning of the verses composed by the disciples before accepting them. Shankara called Anandagiri and asked him what he meant when he said that reading a small portion of Bhagavad Gita was sufficient. He questioned him on how reading a small portion out of 700 verses could be sufficient to give all the understanding of the Shastras. Anandagiri gave a very sweet and attractive reply. He said that the prospect of having to read 18 chapters and 700 verses from the beginning to the end would scare away all dull-minded people, and they would, in that context, not even make a beginning. On the other hand, if they asked to read one verse only, they would do so and then develop a taste for the rest of it. They may then read other verses day after day. This is similar to our efforts to feed a small baby. When he begins to eat, we do not, in the first instance, give salt, sambars, rice, and all at one time. We give a little soft and sweet quantity of food first, so that he will develop a proper taste. Thereafter, the child will want to eat plates full of food. So also, if dull-minded people are given the taste of Bhagavad Gita through a small bit, thereafter, they will desire to read more. Then Shankara inquired as to what he meant by saying that taking a small quantity of Ganges water would be sufficient. Anandagiri replied that Ganges is a sacred river and is in the position of a mother to our country. And it has been responsible for our reputation and status. It is known that Ganges water remains unspoiled for any length of time. It contains the elements which give us health and strength. It is sacred in that it comes from the Vishnu Pada. And even if one drop is taken, it will do a lot of good. Not only this, the Ganges river flows in all the three possible worlds, in three different names and with three different qualities. In heaven, it flows with the name Mandakini. On earth, it flows with the name Bhagirathi. In the Netherland or Patala, it flows with the name Bhogavati. The three gunas, Sattva, Tamo, and Rajoguna, are all contained in the river. In the same manner, in the three possible divisions of time, past, present, and future, the same river is flowing. These are extraordinary qualities of Ganges. Shankara was not satisfied with the meaning given and questioned Anandagiri further. With a view to go deeper, Shankara asked him what he meant by speaking about the three worlds. He asked how man experiences these three worlds. Anandagiri gave the reply that he who recognizes that the Atma in all beings is the same, he who recognizes this oneness in the universe and derives peace from such knowledge should be considered to be living in heaven or Swarga. On the other hand, the person who makes a distinction between insects, animals, and birds on the one hand and human beings on the other hand, and thinks that the human is a distinctive and superior entity, will be in Martya Loka, or the earth, where the human beings live. He then went on to say that if individuals forget the sacredness of human nature and become animals, exhibit qualities like selfishness and greed, and ignore the contents of our scriptures like the Shastras and the Vedas, all such individuals will be living in Patala, or the lower world. Just as our body exhibits depressions and elevations, our ideas also have both high and low. The three gunas, namely sattva, rajo, and tamo, are present in everyone, and what comes up to a point of time will be decided by the circumstances. Life is a mixture of all these three gunas. When a man is happy and is in good circumstances, his ideas too will be of the sattva type. On the other hand, when something goes wrong, he is immediately excited and the rajoguna shows up. When he has eaten heavily, he will slowly go to sleep and the tamoguna appears. In this way, all the three gunas coexist in the same body, and a mixture of them comes up according to the circumstances. Similarly, the heaven, the earth, and the lower world are all present in one and the same individual, and each one shows up in accordance with his state of mind. The same has been divided into three different categories, like the believing, the non-believing, and the believing non-believing. It is better to be a non-believer than being a believing non-believer. In this verse, it has been suggested that you should never ride two horses. If you do not know how to ride a horse, it is better not to do so. It is most dangerous to ride two horses at one time. In man's mind, the Atma is flowing like a clear stream as water flows in the river Ganges. The Indian culture has been flowing through time like the Ganges river has been flowing in a clean and clear manner. It does not get contaminated. It remains everlasting and it flows permanently. That is how Indian culture is in many respects like Ganges. The verses that have been handed over to us by Shankara in the form of Bhaja Govindam are in the sense that there's no selfishness of any kind in them. The Ganges river, when it flows, does not make any attempt to enjoy the sweetness of its own water. The fruit tree, when it gives fruits, itself never enjoys the taste of its fruits. In the same manner, all the great saints like Shankara have given all their strength and wisdom for the benefit of others. They never utilize it for their own benefit. So I will just pause here. So Swami is saying, is equating Ganges to the Atman, which flows underneath all our three gunas in all of our mental states. And we have to taste that Atma even once. Swami is equating that with the Indian culture, the Bharatiya culture also, which is also, Swami says, is pure and it flows through all times. And one should dip into that and take a sip from that. Yes, Auntie Canning is.
Sairam, I don't know. Before you go further, go back to the previous page where it says believing a non-believer. What is that? Yeah, before that. Yeah, that's last bit.
Yeah. So believing non-believers. See, what the Swami says is, see, for example, there are people who consider themselves believers. So they have belief, we will say Swami is God. Swami is everywhere. He is all-knowing. But then what happens is that a practical experience in our life? Do we conduct ourselves at all times that Swami is present wherever we go? Do we dress? Do we talk? Do we behave as if God is present? We don't. So in that sense, we don't believe in what we believe.
Okay. We get it.
So the thing, most of us think that we believe. And we think he knows everything, but then we complain to him, oh Swami, this problem is there, please take care.
We are not consistent.
We are not consistent and we don't really believe what we believe.
Now, that is what, it's the same person, non-believer.
Yes, the person who believes, but he doesn't believe.
Believe, same thing. Okay. And
So,
the other thing is this Anandagiri is compared to a rock, but he doesn't seem to be like that, with all these explanations. He's a he's full of knowledge. That's what I feel.
yes, because that's why I think that's why Anandagiri is giving this story. Because even though he could not understand anything, with just a little bit of grace from his guru, he had learned everything.
And the grace gave him the knowledge.
Yes.
Right. And even
So,
Shankara is asking him for the explanations.
exactly.
That is it. But
So,
here I would say that rock means, like even in Tamil, we say somebody who doesn't understand anything. Avanuru
yes,
kallulli mandiya. Kallulli.
yes,
Mean
yes,
kall. This is
yes,
like a stone, is what we tell in Tamil also.
yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Aruna.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you pour water any amount, it will not seep into the rock.
Mhm.
Knowledge also will just flow out. But that's why Anandagiri was so up. I think he was so grateful to his guru. So he's what he has put down is um, his own life story. His own experience in his life.
Yeah.
He has shared in this verse, where with a little bit he was able to learn everything. That's
From the grace, that was it. Yeah.
right. Yes, sister.
Right.
Sairam, brother, you have mentioned that at least one time to taste Atma. What is you meant by that? I didn't the last when you are talking before finishing that you mentioned that like how you taste the water of Ganges. So you taste Atma. What is I'm
So,
trying to
see,
understand.
Swami is equating that line, Ganges water, to Atman, which is flowing in us.
Yes.
So, see, people may think, oh, we have to go to Kashi or somewhere, take a little bit of water of Ganges, then we have done this. That's the way we look at it literally. Um, it's maybe even if we look literally, we should also understand what it means is we have to taste the Atman. So, even if the Atman is tasted once, means once we get a taste of Atman, after that you will continuously crave for Atman. You will not run after the world. I think Swami is explaining that later on, sister.
Okay.
See, the thing is, we all run after the world for this and that, thinking that it's going to give us happiness.
Mm.
Okay. And disappointment comes as a result of that. But once a person tastes God, he will always run after tasting the God more and more.
Okay. We'll wait for the
Then the
example.
entire life will be spent only in chasing God,
Okay.
not chasing the world. But
Yeah.
if you don't have that taste, you will run after everything else.
So the taste, what is it? Kind of is going to be covered here, right?
Yes, taste
Okay.
is, yeah, we
Okay.
will cover that.
Okay. Thank you.
Swami is covering it. Okay, Saira. See, the Ganges River, when it flows, does not make any attempt to enjoy the sweetness of its own water. So its water is sweet. Okay, so let's come. But Swami says there's some selflessness in Ganges. That's what he's. It doesn't taste itself. The trees don't eat their own fruits, but it's for others' benefit. So Swami is telling people like Shankara have given out so much for everyone to benefit. That selflessness comes through. The Ganges itself is selflessness. So if you taste a little bit of that selflessness, you will also be selfless. Okay, so that's. So let me go to the next. In the third line of the verse, Anandagiri said that if you perform the Vishnu Puja even once, you will attain a status where even Yama or Lord of Death cannot question you. Vishnu here means the omnipresence. And if you understand the significance of omnipresence even once, Yama cannot question. The word Vishnu does not here refer to one wearing the insignia of Shankha, Chakra, Gada, Padma. Vishnu here stands for omnipresence and has no particular form, The bliss that we experience when we think of God is the aspect of Vishnu. Sister Arnab, so this is what tasting the Ganges drop of water. The bliss that we experience when we think of God is the aspect of Vishnu. Anandagiri gave a beautiful example for this.
So
If you take it, sorry.
So the taste of what you experience with the connecting to the God, that's the taste of Atma.
Yes. So if you really look at it, all three lines mean the same thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's
Okay.
Bhagavad Gita, studying Bhagavad Gita, drinking Ganges water, or worshipping the Lord, all three actually describing the same thing, which is tasting the Atman, tasting God.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Which will give you bliss. But if you experience it once, you will always crave for it and you live for it. But if you don't taste even once, you will never understand its value or will crave for it or work for it. If you take rice and convert it into rice flour, it will not have any taste when you put it into your mouth. Similarly, if you take wheat flour and put it on your tongue, it will not have any taste. If you mix sugar with the wheat flour or the rice flour and prepare some kind of a sweet, you will get the sweet taste of such a preparation in your mouth. Although there's no inherent sweetness in either the rice or the wheat, the sugar gives the sweetness. In the same manner, when Vishnu Tattva is added even to a lifeless thing, the object gives a good feeling of omnipresence. This is how Vishnu Tattva can impart omnipresence even to lifeless things. Although the sweets which we prepare and eat have many different forms and names, the fact is that all of them contain one common thing, and that is sugar. Just as we must realize this truth, we must also realize that in this world, while there are so many individuals with different forms and names, the one common thing that is present in all of them is the Vishnu Tattva, or the omnipresent Atma. This realization will enable you to develop love for the entire humanity. It is necessary for every individual to recognize the presence of Atma in everyone. You should realize this by your own effort, or by listening to what the elders tell you, or by having darshan, sparshan, and sambhashan, that is by seeing, touching, and hearing great people. On one occasion, Narada went to Krishna and told him that the Gopikas in Vrindavan, who are not very intelligent, are having some foolish and irrational ideas about Krishna. He said that he would go and tell them the truth about Krishna. He asked Krishna's permission to do so. Krishna smiled and thought within himself that there can only be one kind of devotion, and there can be two types. One appropriate to the intelligent people and the other appropriate to ignorant people. He wanted to teach Narada a lesson and permitted him to go and tell the Gopikas what he wished to tell. Krishna thought that Narada was foolish to think that the Gopikas were irrational and did not have the right kind of devotion. He knew that no one could excel the Gopikas in the matter of devotion. As soon as Narada got Krishna's permission, he went to Vrindavan and met the Gopikas. The Gopikas came and surrounded him with the eager expectation that he would give some news of Krishna. Narada told them that they were ignorant to realize the real nature of Krishna and that they do not understand the Vedas, the Shastras, and said that he would teach them these aspects. Just as one cannot separate the print from the paper on which it is printed, you cannot separate Krishna from the hearts of the Gopikas. We say that one who knows Brahman is Brahman himself. That is why the Gopikas who know Krishna are like Krishna himself. Narada realized his own foolishness and left after blessing the Gopikas. The fact is that these Gopikas have realized the omnipresence or the Vishnu Tattva that has been described by Anandagiri in this verse, in his verse. It is in this context that Anandagiri gave another verse. In that verse, he said that we think so much about our families, our relations, our children, and our grandchildren. We spend so much time and effort in thinking about the wealth that we have to amass, the methods by which to preserve this wealth, and so on. If only we can spend 1,000th part of this time and effort in thinking about Krishna, the Nandanandana, and in surrendering ourselves at his feet, all fears will go. If the most fearful of all aspects, the aspect of death, will not bother those who develop this kind of thinking. They will live in happiness and bliss in this world. In this Kali Yuga, there are many people who do not realize the value of time. They spend so much time in fulfilling their worldly desires that they have very little time left to do good things. They are willing to spend days, weeks, and even months on satisfying some foolish desire of theirs. But they say that they have no time for good things. If someone asks you to participate in satsanga, even for half an hour, you say that you have no time. But you do not hesitate to spend several hours in a club. In a house, if someone suggests that you should do abhishekam to a saligram with a little water, you say that there's no time. Your misfortune is such that, on the contrary, you spend gallons of water cleaning a buffalo or some animal like that. The buffalo can be ourselves also. For good things, you have neither time nor energy. Man is not able to determine what is wrong and what is right. And this is the reason why we have landed ourselves in this mess. Therefore, we must make a sincere attempt to distinguish truth from untruth. We must realize the omnipresence of God, and this will make our lives happy and purposeful. On the other hand, people go on complaining of family difficulties and professional problems which prevent them from their participating in satsanga. We have to make an inquiry and see if such responsibilities are really tying a person down, or is he using them only as an excuse for tying himself down. There's a small example for this. In our country, there's a peculiar method of trapping monkeys. This process consists of bringing a big pot with a small mouth and putting some material which is attractive to the monkey inside that pot. The monkey will put its hand inside the pot and catch hold of a handful of that material. It will then not be able to pull out its hand from within the pot. It will imagine that someone inside the pot is holding its hand. Then it makes an attempt to run away along with the pot. But the monkey is thus trapped. No one is holding the monkey. The monkey got trapped by itself because it has taken in its hand such a lot of material. The moment it lets the material in its hand go, it will be free. In the same manner, in this big pot of the world, with a narrow mouth of the family, man is tempted by the pleasures of the world, and when he gets lost with involvement in those pleasures, he thinks that someone or something is binding him down. No other person is responsible for this bondage. The moment he gives up the pleasures and detaches himself, he will be free. That is why That is the way to free himself from the imagined bondage. There's another good story of Gajendra, the elephant, which conveys well the meaning of bondage. In the thick forest of life, a wild elephant, the mind of man, will be roaming about. This mind, which is roaming about like a wild elephant in the forest of life, becomes thirsty for sensuous pleasures. To quench that thirst, it begins to drink in the lake of the family. The moment the elephant puts its foot in the lake, the crocodile of attachment catches hold of its leg. The moment this attachment catches hold of its leg, the elephant cannot free itself. With this attachment, the elephant struggles till it becomes weak. When it becomes weak, it prays to God and asks to be saved. When in desperation such a prayer is made to God, grace of God will descend on the person. When the elephant's vision turns towards God, God's vision also turns towards the elephant. This is what is called Sudarshana or holy vision. This word does not mean a chakra as is commonly thought, but it means good vision. When you turn towards God, God will turn towards you. To understand this particular verse, we need not go as far as the story of Gajendra. There's an event in my own experience to show how an individual who initially was completely immersed in worldly pleasures later changed his attitude. I will narrate this event. One person came to me about 20 years ago and prayed that he should meet with success in his examination and secure a high first class. I told him that there will have to be his effort, and then the result will be according to God's will. I gave him my blessings and sent him away. He did secure high first class, and came to me again after passing his examination and asked for my blessing so that he may get a job. Because of his good luck, he did get a job within 2 months. He again came to me after a few months and I asked him if he had a job. He said he had a job and he was happy. He also said that he wanted to marry a typist girl in his own office. I told him that if it is agreeable to his father and mother, he may do so, but they may not like it. He was not inclined to listen to me. He said that even if it meant transgressing the wishes of his parents, he was determined to marry that girl. He, in fact, suggested that he would even give up his life if this marriage was not possible. Under those circumstances, I criticized him and told him that he must convince his parents before entering into such an alliance. He brought a lot of pressure on his parents, and they, finding no other alternatives, agreed to the marriage. The marriage was over, and after a year, both of them came to me again and said they wanted to have a son. After the birth of a son, his expenses multiplied. His wife gave up the job, and he again came to me, desiring to get a promotion. By his good luck, he got a promotion. Although he was somewhat foolish in regard to worldly matters, he had great faith in regard to matters relating to Swami. I gave him my blessings and he got a promotion. He did not turn up thereafter for over 5 years. He was quite happy. In the next 5 years, they had 5 children. He came to me again after 5 years and said that he was fed up with the family, that he cannot bear the burden of the family, and that he was looking for relief from all the mess. He said that he wanted a small job in the ashram itself, and that said that his family has now got a hold over him like a big serpent. I asked him if the serpent caught him on its own or whether he let the serpent come to him and catch him. Therefore, you must learn to distinguish between good and bad, between truth and untruth. You must use your education for the purpose of developing faith in God and respect your parents. Respect for your parents. Your life should rest on morality and truth. Your life may or may not go on well, but you must base it on correct foundations. Money comes and goes, but morality comes and goes. It's a matter of great satisfaction if you are educated on the right lines. Become an example to others and accept positions of responsibility. In all these things, always keep your heart straight and clear. Then you will get the grace of God. Remember that Anandagiri, an uneducated and foolish person, became a great scholar and could be the head of a seat of learning in Badri just because he won the grace of his Guru and the grace of God. So this is the discourse of Swami from 1973, explaining the verse which Adi Shankara has given. So I will stop here. If there are any questions, we can discuss.
Sairam, uncle.
Yes, Kalyan.
There is a line in the discourse where it says, in this verse, it has been suggested that you should never ride two horses. What exactly is that referring to?
I think the two horses, I think Swami just mentions it after believing and non-believing.
Yes.
So Swami says it's better to be a believer, full believer, or it's better not to be a believer at all. This intermediate thing will neither you see, as a non-believer, maybe you will, is a person who is only focused on the world may succeed in the world. Okay. At least in the world. The person who believes totally in God with exclusion of the world will benefit immensely by God. But those who are in between will neither succeed in the world nor in spirituality. This is what I understood.
Okay.
So the thing is, the fact, so you may ask, how is it mentioned in this verse? Because when you do this dual journey of world and spirituality, you will never taste the Lord. You will never taste the Lord. So the thing is, if to even taste the Lord even once, one has to be completely a believer and devotee to the exclusion of the world. So even though it says once, to taste that once, one has to go to the river and one has to make an effort to taste or drink the water. One has to spend time in, just because Bhagavad Gita, if you take Bhagavad Gita, we may just read and say, oh, we understood. For example, we all will say, what is Swami's teaching? People don't read Swami's literature. They don't study Swami's literature. Adhita means to study and practice. If you ask, they will say, oh, we know what Swami says. Swami says all religions are one, love all, serve all, help ever, hurt ever. With that, everything ends. Is it a proper study? Have we experienced love all, serve all? It's a big question. So that type of study takes a lot of effort. So the thing is, and that effort also is an exclusion of the world. I'm not running after the world. I think that's what Swami is saying. Swami is warning this tendency to ride two horses, because we are trying to ride the world as well as we are trying to ride the world of God. It's dangerous. You may not get either. So as much as possible, try to do one to the exclusion of the other. So then you will say, should we not live in this world? Even if we live in the world, we should be able to taste the Lord there. I think which also Swami says. Swami says, just like rice flour doesn't have a taste, the sweet gives taste. So even in the world we live, we should be able to experience the Lord. That's what I understood. I have just to stop here.
So the example that Swami gave of the story of the man who asked for high marks and then a good job and then a wife, all of that's like riding two horses, because we're using God and trying to.
Exactly. Because he had faith in Swami, but he also had faith in the world. That will give joy. And the problem was he was using Swami for that purpose without really tasting what spirituality was.
And when it says reading the Gita once or tasting one drop of Ganga, so that once is actually eternity. Like it's not just.
Because once you get the taste, you will look for that taste everywhere, in everything.
In
One
food.
verse, if you taste, you will want to read more and taste more. And you will taste again the Lord.
So, but what you were saying, so once we actually taste it, like once we actually reach that point of being able to taste Atman, we won't come back, right? Like we will just always be in that state.
Because you will know, I think we will know the value of it so much that we will not stop until we completely immerse ourselves in it. That's, as you know, Swami is talking about this baby, who doesn't want to eat. And you chase and give it some food. And later on, it will eat plate full of food. It will not stop eating as it grows. So it is just to get that first taste. If you just get the one taste, after that, that person will on their own seek it and fill themselves with it. I think that's what I understand.
And the word kriyate in the verse, that's referring to the samarcha.
Yes. So kriyate and yena have to be added to everything.
Oh, to everything. Okay.
Yeah, like if you go to the verse, Yena Bhagavad Gita Kinchitadita Kriyate.
Oh, okay.
It's done. So it's a passive word by whom the study of Bhagavad Gita is done. By whom the Ganges water is drunk. By whom the proper worship of Murari is done even once.
Oh, okay.
For such a person, there is no trouble that belongs to that person by Yama.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Yes, Sister Aruna.
I am brother. The riding two horses, it does means that with the knowledge or without knowledge. It can be either way, right? Or without knowledge only.
If person is riding true knowledge, the person doesn't have knowledge. The person who has knowledge will not ride two horses.
Won't. Okay. So
knowledge means, I don't know what you mean by knowledge. If you know
by knowingly or unknowingly.
If you know that the Lord is the Savior, He will do everything, then one will not run for security to the world. One will not run for security. Means people want to accumulate money because they think it will save them. Money will save them from problem. But we don't have the same level of faith in God. How much of God are we saving? If we know that God will take care, then we will not depend on money. We will not even remotely depend on money. Okay, so we may do work, but we will think the security is provided by the Lord. Same way with happiness also. You will not seek worldly things for happiness. You will only seek the Lord because you think He's the source of all happiness. So we will not.
So the riding two horse means that there is not enough knowledge or understanding. That's the meaning of it. Thanks.
Because we neither have faith in the world nor we have faith in God. We are trying to find insurance. We are trying to use God as insurance policy. But insurance may not cover all losses. But total surrender is the way. That's my understanding, sister. Okay, there are, I think, 2 comments. Yeah, so in between, if anyone stays, it's a problem. That's the problem because people can't choose. to have total faith in something and then go all for it. Okay, I think I will stop here. It's 9:07. We went past by 7 minutes. Happy Tamil New Year for anyone who is celebrating, or happy Vishu for if there are Malayalis here. And I think it's celebrated other. Thank you very much, Auntie. So with those, we will close. Maybe today, on a New Year day, this is Swami's gift to all of us. Om Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastaloka Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Sai Ram, everyone.